Hello guys, what's up? Lalapolalaa is here. So today gonna be fairly short video. So today gonna be about validation. So and I promise you guys to do this part, the validation part from our previous uh, code together, which we basically built an simple application that use session authentication. So basically, we're just going to continue uh, code. We're just going to continue using the previous project code. So basically, but for those who did not follow us from the previous project, so you guys can go to I don't know, maybe the description in the description box down below. You can find the link to where the project would will be. But anyhow, if you want to get the copy of the project, so you can go to my own website. It's on lalapolalanewb.com. So you can go to project. So we the last project that we did together is a simple session authentication. You can basically click go to see the live version of it and try the live version of it, and or you could go to source code to get the source code of it. From here you can just git clone the source code. But this is for those who did not follow along coding this simple session authentication. But today it's gonna be fairly short video. It's about validation. It's a simple, a small part in this system. So back to our Visual Code Studio. From our last project that we did code together, we ended up. Why don't I just run the project first? So cd, I'm gonna go into the starter folder, and then I'm gonna run the system. Okay, where are we before? So from, if I'm not mistaken, we just have one credential, basically one user only for our system currently. It depends on whatever email that you are using, also your first name and last name that you input during the registration. We did not create a register page, if I'm not mistaken. Why don't I just go? Yeah, we don't have views inside of it. So basically, from our auth authentication, we just respond with JSON object of message. So basically, we just rest.send the view of the basically the boilerplate of the HTML, right? So why don't I just go? Yep, this is our page right now, which is not particularly, uh, uh, I mean, it's not good to look at. But why don't I just we use our previous, basically uh the only user that we have right now. So we already on the homepage, and we also can log out, Lalapolalaa, and this is my email right now. Log out. This is where we are right now. So what we're going to do today is basically we're going to create uh, we're going to handle a error when we do validation. Basically, we're going to do a validation to check whether all these email, password, first name, last name, all of these are, what we can say is that is valid according to what we want. We don't want people when they want. Right now, we don't have register page, so that means we use Postman, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we did use Postman uh, to create our user. So what we're going to do right now is basically mm, we're going to create a register page. We're going to create our login page. Instead of using rest.sam, we're going to use rest.render to render an actual page for login and also register page. And then we're also going to uh, do validation for our request, the request.body that we get from the form of register, from the register page, which we're going to do a validation. So basically, before we check for email existence, so this one gonna be the second step, third step, and also this one should be the fourth step. This should be the fifth step, last step. So this we should do validation over here. If I can spell it right. So we should do validation inside of here. But before that, we need two package to be installed. So right now, if we go to package.json, we only have bcrypt for hash password or env for environment variable, express session for handling our session, also mongoose for our database, right? But we need two more. So why don't I go back, stop our server right now. We're going to install npm install EJS for our JavaScript templating, and also we're going to install, let me check first, our validation package, which we the one that we are going to use are Hapi/Joi. This is the one I'm going to use in this example. But if you guys want to know, um, beside Hapi.Joi, which you can find in Google, just write at Hapi/Joi. If you can see it, maybe I should. Okay. EJS at Hapi.Joi. I'll just zoom it for you guys. So basically, if you don't want to use at Hapi.Joi, you can go and use express-validator, which basically uh, I can say is function, it do the same thing as at Hapi.Joi. It depends on you what kind of package that you comfortable of using and easy to the learning curve would be much easier. I don't know about Express Validator. I happen uh, to basically learn about this validation from some YouTubers, which I can't remember now. Yeah, he taught the viewers to use at Hapi/Joi, so that's why I'm always used to use at Hapi.Joi instead of any other validation out there. But in this video, basically, I'm going to show you how to use at Hapi.Joi the beginner ways, not the in-depth kind of way. So I'm just gonna show you guys the tip of the usage of Joy. But using package, like always, doesn't matter if you using Express Validator or Happy or Joy Validator. Is they're gonna make it easier for you to do validation part of your server side. Any validation form, especially from forms, right? Or anything you send from the request from the UI, you can basically do validation before you do anything else. But if you want to do a validation for the front end part, people just use JavaScript. The simplest thing that people are always going to do something like, let's say if you want to do validation for the email, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check whether the email is empty or not, right? If it's empty, we're going to return something like res.json with a message of email is required, something like that. But we also need to do we also need to check uh, whether the email is following the correct syntax. I mean that the correct rejects, right? So we need to do something like that. Also, that we need to get the reject for the email. But if we do it from the scratch, it basically gonna be quite a hassle uh, job to do, right? But instead, we're going to use a package to make it easier for us to handle the validation uh, for for our system. So these are the two things that we need to install. The two package that we need to install right now. So hit enter. We're going to install EJS for our templating, front-end templating, and also our validation package, which we're going to use at Hapi Join. So in our package addition, JSON, we already have a Hapi Join and also EJS. So from our index.js, first and foremost, we need to set our front-end templating, which gonna be view engine EJS, just like that. And the next thing, inside our starter folder, create a new folder, name it as views, which is going to contain all the HTML page for our system. So inside view, what we're gonna have next is I'm gonna create a new folder, and then I'm gonna name it as auth, which inside this auth, I'm gonna have two file, basically two page of login.ejs. It's not HTML since we are using EJS templating that we need to use extension of .ejs. So I'm gonna create login.ejs, and also I'm gonna create new for register.ejs. And inside the parent folder, which is the view folder, I'm gonna create home.ejs. Yeah, because we also did not have, let me see first. We also did not have our page for home page, right? Let's go for our routes. It's our routes, home route. Yeah, we do not have a proper home page for our home route. So basically, we just use rest send, which we send a template of a simple template of HTML. But anyhow, we're going to change this for to rest or render. So the first thing that we're going to do after we install all that and create all the page, maybe why don't we create the register page first, or maybe we just create the login page first. Uh, okay, we're going to use a boilerplate for that, and we're going to name it. You can name it as any name that you want, but I just don't care, man. But now we're going to create. I'm going to create div, which have class of all, and I'm going to have a h2, a class of heading 2, and inside of here I'm going to have a login, and they're going to have span and of page, login page, and I'm going to have p that going to do insert your credentials below. After that p, we're gonna have a form with a class of form, and action gonna be slash. Since this is the login, go login should be just slash. So it should be slash auth. Yeah, it should be /auth, since in our index, uh, for our auth root, we use /auth. So /auth, which is going to go to our get route for our login. And don't forget our method. We're going to use method of post. So inside of here, uh, we're going to have, let me check back, username, also password. So we're going to have two inputs, but I'm going to do like this. So this is going to be the first input, which is going to be type of text and email. And so name should be, I'm going to put just email, and I'm going to put placeholder of username. Instead of email, I'm just going to put username. And also you're going to do required. And the second input should be the password, right? So this one should be password, and this one should be also password. And also we're going to have another div which is going to contain two buttons, basically two links. So basically the first one should be the class of login. Type should be submit. This gonna be our login button, and also we're gonna have our register. We're gonna have our, can spell it right, our register button, which is going to go to auth/register route. uh should be register save. Why don't we have a look of what we have right now? Go to our auth. So instead of sending rest.send over here, just comment this for now. We're going to use rest.render. We're going to use rest.render login page, which should be inside of our auth. If you guys can remember, we create a view, and under view we have a folder called auth, right? So that's why we need to call the auth first, and also next we're going to call our /login. So hit save. After we hit save, why don't we go and have a look? So oh, okay, we did not start yet our, make sure you guys start your servers first. Forgot to start our server first after install the package. Okay, our server already start. Hit refresh. This is how how our login page look right now. We have a login button, also a register button. Which next, what we're going to do, I'm gonna style this a little bit. You can skip this part, but I do want to make it look more appealing, if I can say. So what I'm gonna do here is basically I'm gonna do all. Instead of all, I'm gonna do position dot relative on a minimum height of 100 inch viewpoint height with display. I'm gonna flex, and I'm gonna do flex flow equal column. Also, I'm gonna do justify contents, which center and align item should be center. Okay, look at that right now. Hit refresh. Okay, that look a little bit nice. And I'm gonna remove the margin from the heading. because the login page heading took so much space. So basically, I'm gonna do a padding of 0 and also margin of not margin top, just margin of 0 also. And I'm gonna do color of 0077 cc. That okay, that look a little bit nice. And the span for page, I'm gonna change the color to something that might look a bit 95, a bit more brighter. Okay. Now I'm gonna style the P, which basically not style. Not gonna style the P. I'm just gonna make the P a lot more closer to login. So I'm gonna margin of 0. Just want to see whether anything is happening. Yep, everything is close up. And then I'm gonna start a form, class of form with position of relative first and foremost, and also I'm gonna display flags. I'm gonna make sure that the username, password, login, and register all in the middle. So I'm gonna do display flags. So also flags flow. I'm gonna be column and align items should be a center, and then I'm gonna do margin top of since the insert your credential the P with the input uh, is too close. I'm gonna basically put a space or gap between them. Okay, something like that. But now I'm gonna start. I'm not gonna start. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start the button, login button, or also register button, and I'm gonna make sure that there's gonna be a space between the inputs and also the button. So from there, first I'm gonna start a login button. So I'm gonna do position dot relative. Color should be a white. See, I'm gonna do background color. So a font weight, maybe something a bit more uh weight. And now I'm so gonna put space between them. So how much should I put? Maybe 15, just 15 px. And I'm gonna do padding of 5 px and also 12 px for left and right. And since I'm gonna make the border should be transparent, border radius should be 5 px. Background color, I'm gonna do the same color. I should be the same color as our heading. Copy, just to make sure that everything look uh, same thing. And also I'm gonna do transition of hovering. So I'm gonna all 0.5 second is in is out. So basically fresh, we do have login, but right now I didn't yet put a hover, but we do hover. So inside hover, I'm gonna do cursor of pointer, and I'm gonna change the background color to the lighter color of that blue. Be this one. Okay, save. And also I do need to do the transitions. So I'm just gonna copy all of this up here and put it down here and able to see that now. Hit refresh. Yep, it looks a little bit more okay to me. And next I'm gonna do register register button. So for our register, it's not button, it's a tag, right? So position relative. I'm going to do color of this should be FF 5959 red color, and I'm gonna do border this time of the same color, which gonna be solid 1px, 1px solid, and I'm gonna do padding of maybe 3px and 12px for left and right, and border radius should be 5px or so, and text decoration should be none because we don't want the underline under the text, right? The last one should be the transition of all 0.5 second is in is out, and I'm also gonna do the hover of the register button, which is going to be this basically the same thing. So cursor pointer, color, maybe a little bit uh, not light. It be it be it's a red color also, but a little bit. So border color should be same as above, and to copy this transition, save. Okay, that's all. Okay, we have is a subtle animation, but I think it's okay for now. Okay, the next thing that we're going to create is basically our register page. So why don't we just copy all of these for our login page and go to our register page.ejs, click save. Right now for our register page, from our auth, we don't have the get route for our register page. Why don't we create that first? We're going to create route for register get router, which basically this router gonna render the page. Should be get, inside of here should be register, redirect home if we already log in. So sync, I don't think we need sync. Maybe, but I don't think so. So request and rest. So we're gonna do something like render rest.render our auth inside our auth folder, view auth folder, and our register.ejs. We don't need to put extension inside of here. If you want to put extension, you may do so, but basically it's going to function the same when you don't put extension. So register, we're going to display the register page for us. So why don't for now? So why don't we just change this? Okay, if we click on register page, yeah, we inside the register page. This should be login. This should be login. This one should be register. This one should be register. Save. Fresh. Register. That look. This should be a login. Change something. This should be a login. Register. Save. That look a little bit okay. Why that? should be login. Save. So if I want to go back to login page, I hit the login page, auth login. Okay, it should be auth/login. Oh, just auth, not login, just auth. Sorry, my bad. So if you go to login, I'm gonna hit refresh over here, login. Then we're going back to login page. Hit register. Why don't we tweak a little bit here, the styling, and also we need to add a bit more inputs here. If you guys remember, uh, we if we go to our models, our data scheme, we have credential of email and password, and also we have name, first name, and also last name. So when we register, go back to our auth, we get all this email, password, first name, also last name. So inside our register page right now, we only have email, password, but we don't have the names, the first and the second and the last name. So that's what we're gonna do next. Okay, so for our register page, we're gonna tweak this a little bit. So basically, this is gonna be register page. Insert your blah blah blah. This should be go to our register auth registered post router, and this should be. I don't know, I'm gonna split this email. It should be outside, something like this. This I want to change to email, and then inside here we're going to have a type of uh, maybe also password. This should be password. This should be a password confirm, or basically a repeat password. So this should be placeholder of password and re-type password. And we're gonna copy this and have another one should be text. Name of first, can spell it right. First name, placeholder of first name should be text also. Should be a last name. This should be last name. Save. Other than that, should be the same. We go back to our register page, hit refresh. We're gonna have something that look like this, but I'm gonna do a little bit of styling over here. I'm gonna give a little bit of space between the password and also the first name, space of the input. So basically, I'm gonna do inline style over here. So inline style of I'm gonna do margin top of 15 pm, and I'm so copy this. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Save. That look a little bit okay to me. But if you go back to login page, the color for login page and also for register page look the same. Why don't we change that color? So why don't I do something like. So I'm gonna change the color that we have here. For our register button, I'm gonna do red for the color. So I'm gonna copy this color, copy our register background color. Wait, let me change this first. This should be copy here. I'm gonna put it here. Then I'm gonna copy this. Background color should be this color. Let's save it. This one I'm gonna copy, delete this. I'm gonna replace over here. Hit save, and also for register and login, right? And also for the hover, I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna put it over here, but instead I'm gonna copy this back. I'm gonna change this over here, and of course they should be the same. So basically, what I'm just changing this register color with the login color. Yeah, it should look like this. And I'm gonna change this color blue to red color over here. So copy this over here, the main color of red. Then I'm gonna change with this main color of heading. The accent of it, I'm gonna take this part over here, change over here, save. Okay, now they look a little bit different from each other. Okay, we are done with that. Next, what we're gonna do is basically, let me check back. Oh, let me check back. We go back to our register auth. Okay, we're going to do validation part. Or maybe we should create the home page first, right? So when I go to home.js, I'm gonna go login and copy all of this first. Then I'm gonna paste it down here for our home. And for our home EJS, I think I'm gonna do something that much more simple inside of here. So we're gonna have h1 of just welcome to the home page, and we're gonna have a division of we're going to display uh email our email, and we're gonna do span of whatever email over here. So basically, if we go to our home.js, basically do this right now, alright? So why don't, instead of doing this, I'm gonna freaking rest or render an actual home page. So I'm gonna render home, and also I'm gonna send data, and also I'm gonna send user. I'm gonna send home, which is gonna contain user, our data that we have up here, right? Hit save and go to home.js. So basically, we have access to that data. We're going to use JavaScript delimiters over here, which is gonna be user.email, and also copy should be user.name. This should be name. And we also not to forget put our logout button, which is gonna be in auth/logout. Also method of post form. We're gonna have a button of I'm gonna be type submit, and also gonna have an ID of logout. Oh, something like that. If we go back to home.js, we also have button for our add time, right? So why don't we put that also over here? Change this. Change this button. Add time post method. This could be capital or non-capital. Depends on you basically. And this is gonna be ID of add time. Save. So for our button over here, I'm gonna change it a little bit. This should be the same, and we're gonna have logout button, which I don't. Why don't I just copy what we have right here, right? Pish, pish, pish. Logout button should be red, so I'm gonna change this to red. I'm gonna change this to red. But instead, I'm gonna copy this blue power register over here, and also the hover one. Change over here. Change it, save, and this should be our logout button. Logout, logout. This should be our head time. We are using ID right now, not class, so make sure change that first. Instead of hover, or instead of absolute. Okay, it's safe. No, no, no. I'm just gonna copy this all. Copy this, paste it down here. Uh, copy, copy this down here. Copy this. Save. Okay, why don't we try to log in first to see how our homepage look like. So any email at gmail.com, any password 123, enter. Okay, this is our homepage like, but something wrong here. Log out. Why our logout button is not showing up? Because we didn't put the name over there. Hit save. Try again. Any password 123. Capish. There we have something there. You log out. So right now we we didn't actually start yet to do the validation part, right? So we already have all the page working right now. So why don't we proceed to do uh, what we actually going to do for this video, right? For this session. So right now we're going to actually get into the validation part. So basically what we're going to do here. So if you guys go back to the register page, we have email, password, also retype password, first name also last name, right? So if let me just comment this first, and then we're gonna see the console log version, or maybe not. So what if? So I'm gonna basically also we need to get the user password, too many s password confirm, right? So basically this should be password confirm. It's safe. So if I do like res.json request dot body, uh, we're just going to see whether our email that we put inside the, why don't we just put any email to at gmail.com, and then password should be any password 123, any password 123, first name I'm just gonna put Lala Popo. Then I'm gonna hit register. Okay, this is how it look like right now. This is how, or this is what we get in our request.body. Our any email to any password that we input Lala and Popo. If we want to do a validation, like basically uh validation that we do from the scratch, like we need to check whether we need to first check whether all we're gonna do something like this, right? If not request dot body, right? So if not request the body, then what we're gonna do, we're going to return res dot json something like all should be inserted, something like that. So why don't we comment that first? Uh, message of all should be inserted. So if we go back and then try to type again the password, any password 123, and so any password, sorry, any password 123, and then I'm going to hit enter. It's loading right now. Why? It's taking a little bit of time. I'm going to refresh this on. I'm going to try again. Any email to any password 123, any password 123, Lala Popo. Hit enter. So if there is no request of body, so we're going to basically send rest.json, all should be inserted, something like that. But we know for sure that our request of body always gonna be data in it. Why? Because in our register.ejs, we did put required all our input. So if somehow someone did not put all the required data inside of it, so let's say someone put like this, it's gonna do a basic validation for us. This is just for the front end. Please fill out this field, something like that. But what if this one should be email, right? So what if uh you want to do something like this? I'm gonna hit refresh over here. So go back to our auth. So instead of doing something like this, we're going to use validation using a package validation that we have, or basically we create, we download using npm right now. So we're going to use at Hapi Joi. So go to your inside your starter folder. We already have a controller folder, right? So inside controller folder we have verification.js. Create new file under controller folder, which we're going to name it as validation.js. So instead of here, we're going to use like always. I'm always going to do this whenever inside new file. So dependencies, uh, this should be validation scheme, and lastly validation scheme as pods. So our dependency, we're going to basically import joy. So constant, just name it as joy. We're going to require at happy/joy. So for our register scheme, we're going to create a register validation schema. Should be schema, not schema. So the way we're going to do it is constant. Name your validation as whatever name that you want to put. Validation gonna be uh, arrow function. This is an arrow function that have a argument variable of data. So instead of here, the validation scheme should be constant schema slash equal join dot object. Open this. This is object, basically simple object. What we're gonna do, validation for our email, joy dot string. We want the email to be a string, a type of string, and we also want the email should have a minimum of maybe 4 or 6, or we can look at our uh, data scheme. We put minimum of 6 for our database. Why don't we just follow that minimum of 6? And we also want it to be required, and also we want to be email. So to make it easier for you to look at it, let me just do something like this. Okay, next thing that we basically want to check is our password. So password, the name of the object, obviously the variable that you put in your email password should be the same as the one that you get from your request body. Basically, the one that you get from your request body should be the same as the input name that you put inside of here, right? So basically, the name that you put inside your input gonna be end up using the same name inside your validation. So basically, for password, we also want it to be uh, string. Yep, we also want it to be string, and we're going to do a minimum of 6 also. Should be 6, and we're going to do required save. And one more thing, we actually need to do the max part. 72 UTF. The reason is for this The reason I put max because we are using bcrypt. If you guys use bcrypt, we did use bcrypt when we register. We did hash our password using bcrypt, right? Bcrypt.js. Bcrypt.js only allow 72 bit or bytes of character combination of characters. So basically, maximum of 72 uh, character. So that's why I need to put it inside of it. So if you guys want to have want to allow user to have a long password, then maybe you shouldn't use bcrypt for password generation. But for bcrypt, it's going to only take at most 72 characters or bytes, uh, more specific. So that's why we need to put max of 72 or UTF-8. And also, we also need to validate our confirm password. We should don't forget to put comma. So this one should be joy, and this should be since we wanted this validation to make sure that our password confirm should be the same as our password, right? So the way that we do that inside of here, we're going to use this dot valid. It's going to reference to our password that we have upside. This is how we reference our password confirm to the password that we have up here. And also we need to make sure that this also is required. Comma. Next thing is our first name with capital N. First name Joy. This should be string. Do we have a minimum of 4? So we do have a minimum of 4, and also this should be required also. And then we just copy this, copy, paste it down, and change it to last name. Save. Once save, we're going to return our schema dot. Also we're going to validate the data. Save. This is data over here, right? So we're just going to validate our data. Once we did that, the last thing that we're going to do is going to module.export equal to, we only have one right now, so register with save. So that's done. Back to into our auth. So we're going to open this all back again. Oh, I'm going to open this all back again. Save. Over here, what we're going to do, constant, we only going to take the error part. So instead of here, we're going to call our register. But before calling that, we also need to import that. So this should be validation. This should be validation. So if you link it right, so if you type register, it should be there. Registration validation. So this should be register validation, and we're going to send the request dot body. Send. Okay, why don't we look at the unexpected token validation JS 925 required. Okay, this one over here. Oh, save. Should be okay. Save. Okay, what again? Token validation line 30. Okay, the same thing. Okay, now should be okay. So if there is error, what we're gonna do, we're going to return. For now, we're going to just rest.json. I'm gonna send a message of error dot details. So why don't I just show you? Why do you have just send message of error? So why don't we just go to our register page? What if we put our inside of here, blah blah, uh, blah 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 blah, and blah blah blah. Password. Why don't I just put different password? 1 2 3 4 5 6, and this one 1 2 3 4 5. First name Lala Popo. If I hit register, going to send me all this message, blah 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 details. But our error message is basically only this: email must be valid. So what we need to do is basically, I'm going to extract the details, right? So that's why instead of showing all this, we're just going to show this inside message detail. So this should be details 0, array of 0, message. Save. If I hit refresh, it's just going to show me email must be a valid. So if I go back to register, if I put register any email to account password, any password 1 2 3, this one I'm just going to put a different password, Lala Popo. The message password confirm must be a reference from password. So basically it should be the same password. What if I put password 1 2 3 and password 1 2 3, the same password, but this time, what if I just put the first name as A and second name as Popo? Register. First name length must be at least 4 characters long. So we know for sure that our validation that we did inside of it is working. This just to make sure that it's string minimum of 6 required, also in the form of email. Password should be minimum of 6, maximum of 72 characters, and also required. Password confirm should be reference from the password, and also should be required. First name also last name should be in type of string, have a minimum of 4 characters, and also they are required. So we know for sure right now our validation is working. But instead of, instead of uh, showing us the message in form of JSON, why don't we make it look more proper, right? So why don't we show our uh, error message inside our register page? So to do that, what we're gonna do, basically we're going to mm, let me check first. What we're going to do, go back to our auth. Uh, Instead of rest.json, what we're going to do is basically we're going to, why don't I just copy this first? Copy. We're going to rest.render. We're going to re-render again uh, our register page. So see our register page should be in auth register. And also we're going to send a message of error if error does actually happen. So inside our register page, inside of here, under the form, we're going to call that error. Not call, just checking if there is an error. So if we do have message, let's say if message is not equal to a blank string. So what we're gonna do, uh, let me, what we're gonna do inside here, I'm gonna create div dot error. So instead of here, we're going to display p of message. This should be the message, the error message. And also gonna have another p for closing the message, right? So this should be just x id of maybe close. So with that, if we go back here, uh, refresh the page, okay, we got an error. Message not defined. Message not defined. Yeah. The reason we got the error because inside of here we didn't send the message right for our get route. So we do need to send that also. But inside of here, we're just going to send null instead of null. So instead of using this, I'm just gonna use if it's not equal to null. Hit refresh. So it's working right now. So if it's equal to null, then we're not going to basically display the message, right? So if we do have message, then we're going to display the message. Why don't we try and make some error? So any email to blah 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 blah, register. Password confirm must be a reference to password. But why don't we do a little bit of styling here? I'm gonna do a bit of styling just to make sure that everything look a little bit okay. So error for our error division div position, I'm gonna do width of 100%, and also I'm gonna do height of 30 px. I'm gonna do display of flex and justify content. I'm gonna do space between. Line item should be just centered. Background color, I'm gonna put maybe yellow color. F39 C12 yellow color, and I'm gonna do border radius of 5 px and margin bottom of 15 px. For the message, this should be relatively simple. So color, I'm gonna do just white because we already have the background of yellow, so the color should be white. Margin left, I'm gonna do 15 px. Margin right, I'm gonna do 15 px. And for our close position relative, so I'm gonna do margin right of 15 px. Also, this is gonna be color of white. I'm gonna do text align of center. Save. I'm gonna register again. I'm gonna refresh. Password confirm. This look much better, but we I cannot close that message. So why don't I handle that? So cursor should be pointer fresh. Okay, but we still couldn't close this message. So to do that, I'm gonna do a simple, uh, basically a custom script, custom script. So for this script, this should be a simple script. So this script basically going to handle uh, closing of error warning or basically an alert, right? So we're gonna do document dot query selector, and then we're going to select the form. Why we select the form? Because if you look back, uh, when you go to register page, you basically you don't have this error message upside here, right? We didn't basically right away show this error message because the user doesn't do anything yet to basically initiate this error. So basically, what we have inside of here, this class of error, this class of message enclosed, is not available for us yet since it did not uh, appear. So that's why we call form. So we're gonna do a click of event, which gonna take an arrow function. So we're going to get ID of div close. So the way we're gonna get that, so close ID equal to event dot target dot ID. So if target ID equal to close, that one we're gonna do basically if close ID equal to close, then we're going to basically remove uh, the warning or alert. So document dot query selector, you're going to select error, class of error, and I'm gonna append style of display none. Should be none. Save. That's all. So basically, if I hit fresh, now we can click. Okay, not yet. Then we just go back, and then let me check first. We do have all of them. ID of close, close message. Okay, why don't we try again? Register. Password length must be 6 characters long. Okay, it seems like we cannot close it. Why don't I? Query selector form. Click. Let close ID. Event.target. This should be just ID, not close ID. Save. Fresh. Voila. So that's how we do things. So basically, why don't we just, I don't know, do something like this. So register. Okay, we know now we know for sure that our validation is working. So why don't we create a new user? So after we create a new user, we're going to re-render the page again. We're going to re-render the page. we render page with user successfully saved or created. Oh, user successfully created. Proceed to login, thing like that. If we can delete that, and if something bad happen, then what we're gonna do is copy and save and successfully create a new user. Please try later. Save. Okay, let's try create a new user. Any email, password, any password 123, any password 3. So a new user, I'm gonna put my own name, Fati Nor. Register. Users are successfully created. Please proceed to login. So if we go to our database, we should have 2 users right now. Yeah, I know sometimes it could take a lot longer time. So for our first user, we have Lalapolalaa new. For our new user that we just created, we have Fatih Noor. So our credential for a new user is any email to at gmail.com. The first one is any email at gmail.com. So why don't we close this, go to login. For our login, why don't we insert, okay, what if I put something like here, login. We didn't do any validation inside of it. Email doesn't exist. It shows something like that. Why don't we tackle that part first? So we know now, so for our auth login, we also need to send a message of null for this part. But if we don't have user, we're going to do so this part over here, copy. Email already exists, should be copy this. Email already exists. Going to delete this. Okay. So this one, we're going to copy this. Copy. We're going to do the same thing for our login post route. Start here. So if not user, basically we're going to send email. Copy. You can send this, right? But we need to just render the login page instead of register. Email doesn't exist. Copy a valid password. We're going to do the same thing. Copy password is incorrect. Paste message and invalid password. Copy not password. Save and delete this rest.json. Copy this again. Okay, that's all. Go to our login.ejs, and then we need to do the same thing as our register.js. Copy this part over here. Copy. Paste that down there. And we're also gonna copy the styling for that. Copy, save, and also the script part. Copy, save. So if we go back to our login, if you try to log in using a non-registered email, so why don't I just go blah, login, email doesn't exist. Supposed to do like that, email doesn't exist, right? So if I do email that exists but wrong password, login, password is incorrect. Okay, we know for now it's working. So why don't we get inside using the first user that we have, any password that should be Lalapolalaa. Okay, Lalapolalaa, log out. Next, why don't we go for our second user? Any email 2, any password, and this should be Patino. Okay, okay, that's all, guys. This is how basically how you basically able to implement validation process or part for your, I don't know, your forms or any kind of data that you want to get uh, basically post to your server side. So in your server side, what you can do is you install any package that handle validation, like what I'm using right now is Hapi/Joi. So using Joy, you're basically able to do a lot of things, not just making sure that the type is string, we have minimum, maximum, required, email. You also able to do something like uh what you're able to do is something like, if you don't want to have the default email rejects from the this email over here from this at Happy, what you can do, you also can do something like dot rejects. You can do something like this, right? Rejects, also your rejects, just put your what kind of reject that you want to use for your email, so you don't have to use the default email over there. That can work also. And instead of that, you also can make a custom messages whenever. So if you go to login page, maybe the register page, let's say register page, blah blah, something like that, right? So if a password, if I tell something like this, if you want to be email, must be a valid email, or maybe something else than email must be a valid email. What you can do is basically you can do something like a custom message. So a message of which you're going to take an object of string and dot base. This would be in the documentation, but you can find all of this custom thing that you can do to your validation process. But anyhow, that's how basically you're able to implement any kind of validation. This is just one package that I show you guys, which I already use it for a lot of uh, project that I use before, I create before. But like I said earlier in this video, you also can use express validator or any other kind of npm, or basically any other kind of third party validation package you can install to make a validation on your server part. So this one, this package is for server part only, covered only for the server part. If you want to do the the validation for the front end part, then what you could do in the script down below. So we're just making, just you can use document query.selector add event listener of input whenever user click on something, what's going to happen, or you also can make sure that all the input are already inserted, basically inputted by the user before they can send or basically submit the form. But that should you shouldn't worry about that since we already have required beside our input uh, placeholder over here, so you don't have to worry about that in this over here. But if you want it to be a custom message, then you you maybe you could do something like that using add event listener. But anyhow, that's all for today's video, which basically should be very fairly simple task, very simple process for you guys to be to include in your project. Uh, so until next time, like always, see you guys again. Ciao, salam.